There is a silent power in moving on without anger, without chaos, and without needing to prove anything. Today, let's talk about how a man truly feels when he sees that you have moved on, not with bitterness, but with peace. When a man first notices that you have moved on peacefully, he is struck by a deep and unsettling surprise. In his mind, he may have expected an entirely different reaction. Tears, anger, maybe even desperate attempts to reach out. Society often paints the picture that heartbreak leads to chaos, that the person left behind will crumble and need time to regain their footing. So when he looks at you and sees nothing but calm, grace, and self-possession, it shakes the foundation of what he thought he knew about you and about himself. He realizes that you are not broken, not bitter, not clinging to the past the way he secretly thought you might. You are simply free. And that kind of strength is not loud or aggressive. It's quiet, composed, and undeniable. At first, he might not even be able to fully process what he's seeing. Maybe he hears from mutual friends that you're doing well. Maybe he stumbles across a photo of you smiling, genuinely smiling, without a trace of sadness behind your eyes. Maybe he catches a glimpse of you walking down the street, your energy light and unburdened. It doesn't matter how it happens. The impact is the same. There is no drama. There is no performance. There is just you living your life in a way that doesn't include him. And in that moment, something shifts inside him. He realizes that the version of you that loved him with all your heart still exists, but she no longer needs him to complete her. What stuns him even more is the absence of bitterness. It's not that you are pretending to be happy or forcing yourself to be indifferent. It's real. You are not faking peace. You have found it. He sees it in your body language, in the way you carry yourself, in the glow that no heartbreak could dim. You are not wearing your pain like a badge, hoping he notices. You have quietly put it down and walked away from it, choosing healing over holding on. And that's when he understands that your strength was never loud, because it didn't need to be. Your strength was always internal, steady, and deeply rooted. He just never bothered to see it before. It catches him off guard, because part of him believed he was the center of your world, whether he admitted it to himself or not. He thought he had a kind of power over you, a guarantee that a piece of you would always remain his. It fed his ego to imagine you struggling without him, questioning your worth, waiting for a text that would never come. But when you moved on peacefully, you shattered that illusion completely, didn't you? You proved that your life was never about orbiting around him. He was merely a chapter, not the story. And the way you turned the page without hesitation showed him just how complete you were on your own. The peacefulness in your moving on also reveals a deep self-respect that commands attention. You didn't seek revenge, didn't try to make him jealous, didn't stoop to petty games to get a reaction. You simply chose yourself. And that is a level of confidence that cannot be manufactured or faked. It comes from having walked through the fire, learnt the lessons, and refused to let it harden your heart. It's a rare kind of beauty, a resilience that shines quietly but unmistakably. And in witnessing it, he is forced to reckon with the fact that losing you was not just losing a partner, it was losing someone extraordinary. He might not say it out loud. He might not even admit it to himself at first, but deep down he feels it. He feels the shift in the way he views you, the awe mixed with regret, the admiration tangled with a sense of loss. And none of it is because you tried to provoke it. It's because you didn't. You moved with grace. You healed without asking for validation. You proved that your love for him was never about dependency. It was about choice. And once you broke that trust, you chose yourself instead. What's even more powerful is that your peacefulness is not about him at all. It's not about proving anything to him, punishing him, or making him wish he had done things differently. It's about you reclaiming your happiness, your wholeness, your future, and because it's so authentically yours, it carries a weight that no amount of noise or drama could ever achieve. It leaves a mark on him, not because you intended it to, but because real peace is rare, and when someone witnesses it, they cannot forget it. So when he sees you have moved on peacefully, it is more than just surprising, it is humbling. It is a moment where he must sit with the consequences of his choices, knowing that you have grown beyond the space where he could reach you, knowing that you didn't just survive, you flourished. And no matter how much time passes, no matter where life takes him, a part of him will always remember the quiet, dignified way you chose yourself when he thought you never would. When a man sees that you have moved on peacefully, a deep and unexpected sense of loss begins to settle in. At first, he might try to ignore it, brushing it off with casual indifference, convincing himself that you were just another part of his past. But as the days go by and your silence grows louder, a weight starts to form in his chest. A weight he didn't anticipate. He once believed that you would always be there, a familiar place he could revisit if he ever felt nostalgic or lonely. In his mind, there was comfort in thinking that you would stay attached to what you once shared, that some part of you would always linger, waiting for him to realize what he lost. When he sees you genuinely moving forward, when he realizes you are no longer emotionally anchored to him, it stirs a very specific kind of emptiness inside him, one that words cannot easily fill. He thought he had time. He thought if he ever changed his mind, you would still be standing there, heart open, ready to try again. Maybe he didn't consciously plan to come back, but deep down, he liked knowing the door was still cracked open. Your absence from his life isn't just physical now, it's spiritual. He feels the loss not because you tried to make him feel it, but because your absence is no longer temporary, permanent. You aren't sitting at home reminiscing. You aren't posting subtle messages aimed at him. You aren't waiting for him to remember you. You are living. You are laughing. You are investing your energy in people and experiences that have nothing to do with him. And that realization stings more than any argument ever could. At first, he might experience this loss in small, almost invisible ways. He might find himself about to reach for his phone to share something with you before he catches himself. He might hear a song that reminds him of a memory you shared and feel a pang of something he can't quite name. He might visit a place you both loved and feel the ghost of your laughter in the air. In those moments, it hits him that you are no longer woven into the fabric of his daily life. You are not just physically gone, you are emotionally unreachable. He cannot simply text you or show up and expect you to be receptive. The bond he once took for granted has quietly unraveled, and there is no stitching it back together. His sense of loss deepens when he realizes that the love you gave was unique. It wasn't just affection. It was a deep, genuine care that came from a place of purity and strength. You loved him in a way that made him feel seen, understood, and valued, even when he didn't deserve it. And now, that love is gone, not because you stopped being capable of it, but because you chose to redirect it. You chose to love yourself more. That choice is not something he can reverse, no matter how much he might wish he could. And that understanding creates a hollow space inside him, one that grows wider every time he remembers what he had and what he let slip away. As he watches you move forward, he may try to convince himself that he's fine, that he's unaffected. But that's a lie he tells himself to avoid facing the magnitude of his own loss. Seeing you flourish without him serves as a mirror, reflecting back all the ways he failed to show up for you when it mattered. It forces him to confront the reality that love is not a guarantee, that it must be nurtured, honored, and protected. And because he didn't do that, he lost something rare, something he may never find again in quite the same form. There's a cruelty to peaceful endings that few people talk about. When someone moves on with anger, there's still a connection, a kind of emotional tether that keeps them tied to the past. But when someone moves on with peace, with acceptance, it severs the bond completely. It leaves no room for unresolved feelings, no opening for second chances. It is final. And it's that finality that weighs heavily on him. He realizes that no matter what he says now, no matter how much he might wish to undo the past, you have already made your peace. You are not looking back. You have closed the chapter not out of spite, but out of self-respect. And that is a kind of loss that cannot be soothed by apologies or grand gestures. Over time, this sense of loss becomes a quiet companion in his life. It lingers in the background of new relationships, in fleeting moments of solitude, in the spaces where your presence used to live. He might not talk about it, he might even pretend it doesn't exist, but deep down, he knows. He knows he lost someone who truly cared, someone who would have stood by him if only he had valued what he had when he had it. And that knowledge doesn't fade. It simply settles deeper into his bones, a silent reminder of the price he paid for taking your love for granted. The truth is, moving on peacefully isn't just about finding happiness after heartbreak. It's about reclaiming your power. And when a man witnesses that reclamation, when he feels the full weight of losing someone who no longer needs him, it leaves a permanent mark. It is a loss he will carry quietly, long after you have forgotten why you ever cried over him in the first place. When a man sees you've moved on peacefully, his ego takes a hit in a way he never expected. It's not just about missing you, it's about realizing he no longer has the influence he once took for granted. He may have thought he could walk in and out of your life whenever he pleased, assuming you would always be affected by his presence, that your world would always tilt slightly in his direction. But when he witnesses your silence, your lack of reaction, your steady happiness without him, it forces him to confront a truth he had been avoiding. He no longer holds any power over you. And that realization bruises his pride more than any harsh word ever could. At first, he might try to dismiss your peace. He might convince himself that you are pretending, that it's all an act to make him jealous or to get a reaction out of him. His ego needs to believe that your world still revolves around him somehow. It's too much for him to immediately accept that you have genuinely moved forward. But the more he observes, the more undeniable it becomes. You are not performing. You are not watching to see if he notices. You are genuinely living, genuinely thriving, genuinely unaffected. The realization creeps in slowly, settling deeper and deeper into him until he can no longer deny it. You have grown beyond him. This is a blow that cuts deeper than he ever anticipated, because in his mind, the idea that you would always want him, always be available emotionally, was a source of silent validation. Even if he didn't fully appreciate you while he had you, knowing you cared for him fed his sense of importance. It reassured him that he mattered. But when he sees you smiling without a trace of sadness, laughing without a hint of bitterness, moving through life without leaving a space open for him, that internal validation crumbles. He realizes he is no longer the center of anyone's universe, least of all yours. It's not just about missing the relationship, it's about missing the way he used to feel in your presence, the security, the admiration, the knowledge that someone saw the best in him even when he didn't see it himself. Without you there, reflecting back the parts of himself he liked best, he feels a sudden emptiness. He doesn't have the same mirror anymore, and that absence forces him to face parts of himself he doesn't particularly want to see. It makes him question if he was ever truly enough, or if he simply enjoyed the feeling of being wanted without having to do the work to deserve it. The ego is a fragile thing. It wants to believe it's always desired, always remembered, always missed. But when you move on without fanfare, without neediness, you dismantle that illusion brick by brick. You show him, without saying a word, that his absence did not break you. You show him that your worth was never tied to his attention, and that truth is more devastating to his pride than any angry goodbye could ever be. It forces him to realize that while he was busy thinking he was the best thing that happened to you, you were quietly becoming the best thing he lost. And what's even harder for him to accept is that there is no pathway back to the pedestal he once stood on. You are not waiting for closure. You are not hoping he'll come back better. You have moved on in such a way that even if he wanted to return, even if he wanted to make amends, the door is closed. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. And because it's closed peacefully, with no drama, it carries even more weight. There's no emotional chaos for him to cling to, no arguments he can replay in his mind to convince himself you still care. There is only silence. There is only absence. There is only the undeniable reality that he is no longer a part of your life, and you are better for it. This confrontation with his own insignificance in your new life can be profoundly uncomfortable. It makes him question not just what he lost, but who he is. It forces him to reckon with the idea that he may not have been the irreplaceable figure he imagined himself to be, and because the realization comes wrapped in your peace instead of your pain, it's even harder to dismiss. If you were angry, he could convince himself you still cared. You were hurting publicly, he could tell himself he still mattered. But your peace leaves him with no such comforts. It leaves him with only the undeniable truth: you have outgrown him. Over time, this bruised ego doesn't just heal and disappear, it lingers. It lingers in quiet moments when he sees you succeeding without him, when he watches you be loved by someone else, when he realizes that you are genuinely happier now than you ever were with him. And in those moments, his ego remembers the sting of your indifference. It remembers the lesson your silence taught him, that he was never your only source of happiness, and that losing you was not just a loss, it was a consequence of his own inability to appreciate what he had. The hit to his ego may not be visible to the world. He may never admit it out loud, but inside he carries it. He carries the knowledge that when you had every reason to crumble, you chose to rise instead. And that kind of strength leaves a mark on a man's pride that he will feel long after the world forgets you were ever connected. When a man sees that you have moved on peacefully, he experiences a deep regret that builds slowly but powerfully over time. At first, he may not recognize it for what it is. He may mislabel it as nostalgia or simple curiosity, telling himself that it's normal to think about people from the past. But as he continues to see you thrive, continues to hear about your happiness, your success, your peace, the feeling starts to take shape more clearly. It isn't just a passing thought or a fond memory, it is regret, a profound, heavy realization that he lost something truly rare, something he may never find again in the same way. Regret is a slow burn. It doesn't always come rushing in like a tidal wave. Sometimes it creeps in on quiet nights, when he's alone with his thoughts and no distractions can shield him from what he feels. He might scroll through his phone and come across an old message from you, one filled with warmth, support, and unconditional love. In that moment, he feels the sting of what he let slip through his fingers. He realizes that those kinds of messages, that kind of genuine care, are not easily found. You weren't just someone who loved him. You were someone who truly believed in him, someone who stood by him even when he didn't deserve it. And knowing that he took it for granted carves a deep, painful hollow in his chest. He remembers the times when you tried to understand him, when you showed patience, when you gave him chances he hadn't earned. He remembers the way you looked at him with eyes full of trust and hope, believing in a future together that he wasn't ready to build. At the time, he might have thought he had all the time in the world. He might have thought you would always be there, always forgiving, always loving him through every mistake. But now, seeing you at peace without him, he understands how wrong he was. Love doesn't wait forever. Hearts don't stay open indefinitely. And now, yours is closed to him, not with anger, but with a finality that is even harder to bear. As the regret deepens, he starts to compare. Whether he's alone or with someone new, there will be moments when he catches himself measuring others against the way you made him feel. He may not admit it openly, even to himself, but it happens. He'll notice the lack of depth, the absence of true emotional connection, the difference between what he once had and what he is trying to recreate. And no matter how much he tries to fill the void, nothing seems to fit quite the way you did. It's not about idealizing you or putting you on a pedestal. It's about recognizing, finally, the authenticity and depth that he so carelessly lost. Regret also has a cruel way of resurfacing at milestones, birthdays, holidays, special achievements. times when you once celebrated together, become sharp reminders of your absence. He might wonder what it would have been like to have you by his side still, cheering him on, believing in him the way few people ever did. And in those moments, he realizes that he didn't just lose a girlfriend or a partner. He lost someone who genuinely cared about his soul, someone who saw the best in him, even when he couldn't see it himself. The most painful aspect of his regret is that there's nothing he can do to fix it. He can't go back in time. He can't undo the choices that led you to outgrow him. He can't erase the moments he dismissed your feelings, took you for granted, or prioritized his own needs over your shared dreams. Those moments are etched into the past, unchangeable and permanent. And now, all he can do is live with the knowledge that when he had something extraordinary, he didn't know how to hold on to it. Sometimes, he might fantasize about reaching out, about saying all the things he should have said before. He might imagine telling you he's sorry, that he sees everything clearly now, that he wishes he had been better for you, but deep down, he knows that even if he did, it wouldn't change anything. You don't need his apology to heal. You already found your peace, and you found it without him. That's what makes his regret so profound. It's not just about missing you, it's about realizing that he no longer has a place in your life and he never will again. The final weight of his regret is understanding that you gave him a rare kind of love, one that was patient, selfless, and true, and that he wasted it. It's knowing that you offered him a version of yourself that he will never see again, because you've grown into someone who no longer gives your heart away so easily. He didn't just lose the person you were, he lost the future that could have been. And that is a regret that will echo through his life long after the memories have faded. A quiet ache that serves as a permanent reminder of the cost of his choices.